Am I good? Good morning. Thank you for tuning in to our Halloween story time. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce our special guests. We have Mayor Lioneld Jordan, who is currently serving his third term as mayor of the city of Fayetteville. He is running for re-election on November 3rd. Crescent Dragonwagon is a James Beard Award-winning cookbook author, playwright, and poet. She has published 28 children's books of her own, and she is the daughter of children's book writer and editor Charlotte Zolotow. Her mother wrote the book A Tiger Called Tomás, which is the book we're reading today. D. Riley Nicholson is here to provide some special sound effects for our story. Who likes spooky Halloween sounds? Riley recently moved to Northwest Arkansas to become the executive director of the Symphony of Northwest Arkansas. Today, he is demonstrating something called prepared piano, which is playing the piano in unusual ways in order to create unique sounds. We're so glad that you have tuned in today. We hope you have a happy and safe Halloween. Let's get our story started.
Hello, everybody. Our friends in this room, Mayor Jordan, Riley, and you guys out there, whether you're little kids or old men and women, I'm glad that you are here with us. So Lioneld, I think we should read this story together.
Well, I am ready. How about you?
I am too. What about if I do the words and you hold the pictures up?
That would be great. Fantastic.
Great. We can share the work. And, you know, we picked this book because it's about Halloween, but there's some elements about it that are kind of true all the time.
It truly is. I'm really excited we're going to read this particular book today. I mean, I'm ready to go when you are.
Okay. Well, we don't want to tell you too much just so we can leave you curious.
Yeah.
So here we go. There was once a little boy named Tomás. He was very nice, but when he and his family moved to a new house on a new street, he took it into his head that the new people might not like him. So he never left his stoop. Why don't you play with that little girl, Marie? His mama asked him. Maybe she wouldn't like me, Tomás said. Of course she'd like you, his mama said. Why wouldn't she? ¿Por qué no? But Tomás didn't answer. Why don't you visit the lady with the black cat down the street? His mama said. They might not like me, Tomás said. Of course they'd like you. Why shouldn't they like you? ¿Por qué no? Said his mama. But Tomás didn't go. That tall boy named Gerald. He looks lonely, his mama said. I don't think he'd like me, said Tomás. Of course he'd like you, said Tomás's mama. Why shouldn't he like you? ¿Por qué no? Everybody likes you. But Tomás wouldn't leave his stoop. He sat there and watched when Marie played hopscotch. He sat there and watched the old woman's cat as it prowled through the grass and shrubs. He sat there and watched when Gerald walked past the house, and he thought about how tall he was. Oh, Tomás, said his mama, everyone will like you. Why don't you go play? But Tomás shook his head. He just sat on the steps, watching. The lady in the house across the street was always out in her yard, watering the plants, raking the leaves, sweeping the walk, picking her flowers. And all the while, Tomás sat on his stoop and watched. He watched the old man who came up the street with his big black poodle 3 times a day. The poodle always looked over its shoulder at Tomás, and its tail stood up like a small palm tree and wagged from side to side. But Tomás just sat on his steps and watched them pass. He watched the sparrows and the grackles and the blue jays in the trees. He watched the black cat look up at the sparrows and grackles and blue jays. But Tomás never went off his stoop to play. On Halloween, his mama came home with a tiger costume for him. Try this on, she said. Tomás put on the orange and black striped suit with its quilted tail. He put on the mask with its long whiskers. How do I look? He asked his mama. Exactly like a tigra, she said. Tomás looked in the mirror, and his mama was right. No one will know who I am when I go trick-or-treating, he said. On Halloween, there was a large orange moon in the sky, and it was already getting dark when Tomás went out. The branches of the trees hardly showed except where they laced across the moon. Tomás crossed the street to the house of the lady who was always outside in her yard. The chrysanthemums were still blooming in front of her house. "Trick or treat," Tomás called when she came to the door. "Well, hello," the lady said. She dropped a package of orange candies into his bag. "Happy Halloween," she said. "Thank you," answered the tiger. "You're welcome, Tomás," the lady said, closing the door. Under his mask, Tomás flushed. "That's funny," he said to himself. "She called the tiger Tomás." At the next house, he rang the bell. "Trick or treat," he called. Marie's mother opened the door. She had candy apples for the treat. "Oh, thank you," the tiger said, for he especially liked candy apples. "You're welcome," said Marie's mother. "Marie is a witch tonight. Maybe you'll pass her. But anyway, come play hopscotch here tomorrow, Tomás." "Thank you," Tomás said again. But when the door closed, he reached up to feel his mask. It was still on, covering his whole face. "That's funny," he thought. "She knew who I was, too." He passed a tall ghost going up to the house as he left. He couldn't see the ghost's face, but there was something familiar about his figure. "Hi, Tomás," said the ghost. "Want to play horseshoes tomorrow? I got a new set." "Sure," said Tomás. The ghost was Gerald. Tomás could tell by the height. He went to the old man's house. The black poodle threw back his head and barked wildly when he saw the tiger at the door. But when he sniffed at the tiger's feet and sniffed at the tiger's quilted tail, he suddenly put up his own palm tree tail and wagged it hard. "Trick or treat," the tiger said. The old man had made big pumpkin cookies. "Fresh baked, Tomás," he said, winking as he dropped one in the bag. "Best thing for tigers," he added, and winked again as he watched the tiger go down the steps. He called the tiger Tomás, too, thought Tomás. Now he rang the bell at the house of the old lady and her black cat. "Trick or treat," he called. Come in," the old woman said. Her black cat looked curiously at the tiger, and the tiger reached out to stroke the cat's black, slippery fur. "He loves that," the old lady laughed. "Come play with him again, Tomás," she said. "He gets lonely." "So do I," said Tomás. She knew too, he thought to himself as he turned toward home. Now the orange moon was a little higher in the sky. The sky was a little blacker than before. He couldn't see any of the branches of the trees against the moon now. A group of ghosts and goblins was coming down the steps of the lady across the street, and a solitary but familiar-looking witch with her broom under her arm passed him. He looked at her curiously as he walked towards the steps of his own house. It was Marie. "Hi, Tomás," called Marie. Tomás walked upstairs to his own room. He looked in the mirror at the tiger, at the tigre. The tigre in the mirror looked back at him, whiskers and all. "Have a good time?" asked his mama. "How did they know who I was?" Tomás asked. "Did they?" said his mama. "Yes," Tomás said. "The mask didn't fool them a bit. And they all asked me to come back." "I guess," his mama said, "that they all like you." Tomás looked at her. Suddenly, he felt wonderful. Maravilloso. "Oh, I like them too," he said. And when he took off his mask, he was smiling. You know, I've read this story so many times since I was a little girl, because my mother wrote it when I was little, but I still love it, and I still get something new from it each time. But it's newer to you, Mayor. What do you think of it?
Oh, I just thought it was fantastic. It tells such a great story about things that we have to overcome, and that, and hearing that story again, it just builds my faith that everybody's important, that everybody is welcome, that everybody should take care of one another and be a part.
That everybody is scared, and we sort of rely on, I mean, Thomas's mother helped, the neighbors helped, but Tomás, he had to go out.
Yep, he had to go out and he had to overcome that fear, didn't he? And that takes courage.
And he hid, of course, as a tiger, but they saw right through him.
Yes, they did. They saw him for who he truly was.
Yeah, yeah. So what do you remember anything you went out as on Halloween when you were a kid?
Know, I love this story. My mother, we didn't have lots of money, but she used to save up green stamps.
Oh, and you could trade those in for things.
And you could trade those in, and once she got me a bicycle, but this particular time she got me a Mickey Mouse outfit. And it was just, I always remember that. I will never forget that. How my mama saved those green stamps to get me a Mickey Mouse outfit. It's still my favorite outfit of all time.
That's a great one. That's a great one. Well, I had a best friend named Marin when I was little. Her real name was Karen, but we started calling her Marin for some reason, and she went through with that name for her whole life. So we went out together trick-or-treating for 3 years in a row. And we had this great idea. We would go out as a tube of toothpaste and a decay germ. And so we made the Crest toothpaste out of poster paper with little straps to hang over. And, we copied the words effective dentifrice, on the back, all that stuff. And to the other costume, the tooth decay germ was much more fun. It was a sheet with a hole in the middle for your head, and we splashed paint all over it. And she had a sign that said, a little button that said, nasty tooth decay germ. And we took years, because it was sort of more fun to be the germ than the toothpaste. So we took turns. She was the germ 2 years, and I was a germ 1 year. And the other years I was the toothpaste tube. So, but my mother was, when she was a little girl, she had a back injury, and for several years to fix it, she had a disease called scoliosis. They had her in a brace, and she was afraid no one would like her because she thought she looked like a bug in it. She had to be in it for 2 years. So she always really cared about children that felt themselves to be outsiders. And, you know, my brother was very smart but very shy, and I believe she did get him a costume, a tiger costume, when they first moved to that house. I was very little then, so I don't remember. And he had, I know he had a toy lion that he kept with him all the time, a big stuffed lion named Leo. And so maybe she combined, and of course, my mother is dead now, so I can't ask her, did you really get him a tiger costume, or did you borrow from? So, you know, we also live with the people that came before and the mysteries about that. But anyway, you know, we've been talking about fear and things that are scary, and, you know, it's been a little scary this year, hasn't it?
It truly has. You know, but through all of this, it has taught us that we have a new normal, that we need to develop new routines. You know, but I think, you know, and I encourage everyone to mask up, that we need to protect ourselves, we need to protect one another, we need to protect our community. So I would encourage everyone to mask up and protect one another. I think this is vitally important. And but get you some masks that shows off your personality. And Crescent, I believe you have a few of those today.
Well, I do. And, you know, just like, you know, you when we were rehearsing, you mentioned a story where you used to be very afraid of the dark.
Yep.
Do you want to tell what you did then? Because it sort of fits in here.
You know, I had a fear of the dark when I was a little boy. And I was afraid to go outside, but I got a book at the library. That's why I'm passionate about a library. That library changed my life.
And that book that you got?
And this book I got was called The New Firmament, or The Heavenlies. And I would go out at night, and I would look at the moon, and I would look at the stars, and I would take that book and look at all the constellations. And I went from being afraid of the dark to a point where I couldn't wait for it to be dark, where I could go out and explore the planets. I had a friend of mine, he had some old telescope, and we would set it up in the yard, and all we could see was just some of the moon craters, but we just thought it was the coolest thing. And I never forgot that. It helped me overcome that fear. And, you know, I think that's so vitally important in this day and time, that we overcome our fears and know that there is a better day for us. And I overcame that fear, and if I can overcome, I learned from that, if I could overcome that fear, I could overcome any fear that I had.
Well, you took that fear and you took something that was scary and made it kind of wonderful and fun, and couldn't wait to go out and look at the dark, because suddenly it had all those.
So it went from being a fear to a strength in my life, because I learned. And if you can read, you can learn anything. And that book helped me understand the planets and overcome my fear. That's why I always encourage people to be readers.
Well, and along with being a reader is to find a different way to look at things. So most of us, you know, masks are different for us. We don't like to wear them full time. And so how can we take, like, your feelings towards the dark? You've suddenly started seeing the planets. So I started looking for, how can I feel better about masks? And I decided to make a little fashion statement with my masks.
Well, let me ask you a question. Do you wear a mask?
Why do you ask?
Well, because I do.
And me too.
I don't want COVID in my nose.
Or spreading from my tips to toes.
I don't want to give it to my grandmother.
Or father, mother, sister, brother.
Or a cousin, or a pal.
If I made someone sick, I'd howl, ow!
And so we cover over and over. So when you wear a mask, CD,
I like a mask variety.
A spider on a mask is nice.
Oh, I'll take 8-legged advice.
And do you ever wear a mask with flowers?
Both day and night for hours and hours.
And when it's dark and when it's night,
I wear a mask that's really bright.
At the farmer's market or on the square?
Oh, green is the mask that I wear there.
Yeah. Do you mask up like a cat?
That's where it's at.
And Crescent, like Tomás, do you?
Mask up like a tiger too. Yes, I do.
Well, those certainly are fantastic. I love your mask. Those are great, Crescent. And I want to thank you all today for watching, and thanks to Crescent, Raleigh, and the great Fayetteville Public Library. Yes.
We know you're clapping out there.
And whatever mask you're wearing, I just want to say thank you all for caring about your community and one another. Wear a mask, be safe, my friends, and have a happy Halloween. Crescent.
And when you take off your mask, may you be smiling underneath. Now, Mayor, I thought you might, sometime when you're away from the library, you might run into some kids that need to hear the story. So I brought you your own copy of Tomás.
Thank you so much.
I just thought you might.
How very kind
You know, when you're mayor, you never know what you'll run into. Might be a tiger, might be planets.
Might be new friends.
Might be new friends. Thank you.
Thank you.
library.
Thank you all.
Thank you, listeners and watchers and tigers and tigresses.
Happy Halloween, everyone.
Happy Halloween.